If you've been shooting travel photos for a while and your photos still feel off, you're probably making a few of these mistakes. I have made every single one of them. Let's go through these 7 deadly sins of travel photography. You are technically correct, and your photographs are forgettable. That's a hard thing to say, but it's the truth most photographers never hear. Knowing your f stops, understanding your histogram, nailing your exposure manually, none of that guarantees a powerful image. Technique is the floor, not the ceiling. There is one test for a travel photograph. Does it make the viewer want to be there? Does it create longing? Does it transport? If it doesn't, it has failed its purpose. Regardless of how technically correct it is, these 7 sins are what stand between your photographs and that effect. Let's go through them. Sin 1, getting exposure wrong. Exposure is not just technical, it's emotional. Now, what does that mean? It means that when you look at your histogram and declare your exposure correct, that's the beginning of the conversation, not the end of it. Slightly underexposed feels dramatic. Slightly overexposed feels airy. But when it is wrong, unintentionally wrong, the image just feels off. That is not about perfection, it is about intent. Look at this frame. Two girls playing at dusk. Backlit, the sun just on the horizon. This is difficult light. The kind that defeats most cameras and most photographers. But here you can see the girl's expressions, you can see the arc, and you can see the sun. Not blown out, not a white hole, but shaped, defined, glowing. That's balanced exposure in difficult conditions. The craft kicked in. Blue hour, nature's gift to travel photographers. That window between sunset and dark, when the sky isn't too bright to kill shadow details, and the artificial lights have come on. In this frame, both worlds are in balance. The warmth of the lights, the cool blue of the sky, neither sacrificing the other. This is why I always stay past sunset. The party starts after the sun goes down. Here's the situation every travel photographer faces: bright outdoors, darker interiors, both in the same frame. Your camera cannot hold both. It has to make a choice. Your job is to make that choice before the camera does. Expose for what matters most and let the rest negotiate. Now, deliberate underexposure. This is not a mistake. This is a decision. In such instances where silhouette adds to the drama, underexpose. The loss of detail in the subject is not a loss. It is the point, the shape, the form, the context, that's the photograph. Deliberate overexposure works the same way in reverse. Here, the subject is the grazing horse. So losing the detail of the mountains in the background? Fine. That's the sacrifice. Every frame involves sacrifice. The question is whether you're making it deliberately or accidentally. This is what I actually shot. Underexposed deliberately to avoid a burnt out sky, particularly the area near the sun. In isolation, it looks dark, flat, wrong, but this was always a two-step photograph. And here it is after post-processing. The sky color is preserved, the detail is there, the mood is intact. This is the deal you make with yourself when you shoot raw and you know what you're doing. You underexpose with a plan. You don't expose for the JPEG. You expose for the edit. Another example. This also was deliberately underexposed. The sky color would have been lost if I had captured it at correct exposure. So here is the final shot. Expose for the subject. Let everything else negotiate. Use your metering scale. It sits at the bottom of your viewfinder. Keep your histogram active in review mode. Learn what your camera clips at and shoot with intention, not with hope. Sin 2. Trying to include everything. Photographing everything is like photographing nothing. This is perhaps the most common sin, and it's rooted in a very human impulse. You're standing in an extraordinary place, surrounded by extraordinary things, and you want to capture it all. But a photograph is not a room. You cannot put everything in it. Look at this frame. There's a vintage plane, the Nat Geo theater behind it, people climbing the stair. Any one of these could anchor a strong photograph. But here, they're all competing. Your eye has nowhere to settle. It keeps searching for permission to stop, and it never gets it. The ultimate example of clutter. Your eye is not at peace looking at this frame. It's darting around. What will draw your eye? The big red character? The stripes of the building with the zebra crossing? The M&M signage? The big bus? Or the lady walking out of the frame? Multiplicity at its best, or worst. This one is more subtle. There is a clear subject, but despite a unique subject, the skyline takes away the attention. The sin is quieter here, but it is still a sin. Now watch what happens when you remove the competition. One subject, one frame, one story. Your eye goes exactly where it is meant to go and stays there. No multiplicity here either. The scene may have complexity, but the photograph is one subject. That's the discipline. Notice how immediately your eye finds the subject. There is no searching, no confusion. The photographer made a decision and you feel it. One more. The subject commands the frame. Everything else serves it. That's the standard. One frame, one hero, everything else is supporting cast. Before you press the trigger, pause. Ask yourself, what is my subject? Not what's interesting in this scene. What is my subject? One thing. Then protect it mercilessly. Sin 3. Weakening your subject. A strong subject in a weak frame still feels weak. Dilution is the sin that happens after you've found your subject. This is where good photos quietly die. You have the right thing, but something in the frame is robbing it of its power. Not competing with it, not replacing it, just quietly weakening it. Here's a sign that says jumping here is prohibited. That's the subject, the irony, the humor, the story. But look at the background. There's a figure covering, drawing the eye away, diluting the punchline. The sign is there, the story is there, but the frame has a leak. Isn't this better? Same subject, same sign, but the frame is now clean. The story lands because nothing is undermining it. Bokeh background, singularity of subject, no dilution. Shallow depth of field is one of the most powerful tools against dilution. The background is still there, you can read it, but it's been subordinated. The subject is protected. Singular, riveting. There is nothing in this frame that dilutes the subject. Every element serves it. This is an interesting case. There are three people in the frame, but there is no dilution. Why? Because the two bystanders are also looking at the main subject. They are directing your eye, not competing with it. Even secondary figures can serve the primary subject if they are pointing in the right direction. Your eye isolates the subject, your craft protects it. Shoot multiple frames, vary your distance. Sometimes getting closer eliminates the diluting element entirely. Use depth of field deliberately, and in post-processing, a tight crop can often rescue a diluted frame. Sin 4. Letting attention drift. The viewer goes where you send them. Where did you send them? Division is a compositional sin. It happens when your frame contains two elements of equal visual weight, pulling the viewer in different directions. The viewer can't commit. The image fails. What's the subject here? The clouds or the tree line? Both have equal weight in the frame. Your eye moves between them, searching for an answer, and none comes. Better? Now tell me what's the subject. There is a clearer answer now, but the question still lingers. Slightly. The subject here is the sunbeams. Spectacular, dramatic, unmistakable. But there is also a tree on the left. Is that division? No, because the tree is serving as a balancing element. It gives your eye something to anchor against, preventing it from sliding out of the frame. This is division working in service of the composition, not against it. A busy street, many subjects, but I want to show you the panwala on the right, that uniquely Indian street vendor. How do I direct your eye to him when the frame is this crowded? Better? We are closer now. The frame is tighter, but there is still scope. The viewer's eye is still making a decision. Now we've nailed it. The second guy isn't looking at the camera, he's looking away, which means he's not competing for your attention. The main subject has attitude, presence, ownership of the frame. Division resolved. Compose so that only one answer is possible. Guide the eye. Don't let it wander. Be mindful of competing elements before you press the trigger. Use burst mode when the scene is dynamic. One of these frames will have everything in the right position. Sin 5. not committing to a story. A photograph is not a puzzle. Stop making viewers solve it. Diffusion is the story sin. A diffuse photograph has a moment captured but not a story told. The viewer looks at it and thinks, something happened here, but they can't say what. Chaos in the sky. Your eye searches for a story, a lead character, a direction, a resolution. It finds none. The frame is beautiful in its chaos, but it tells nothing. A clear story. One look is enough. You know what this photograph is about. Immediate, legible, complete. Too much. The story is in there somewhere, but you have to excavate it. And viewers won't do that work. Just right. The frame has been edited, elements removed, tightened, clarified. The story breathes. A snapshot. Something is happening, but the story hasn't been captured. Just the moment before it, or after it, or beside it. A rhythm, a coherence. The elements relate to each other. There's a logic in the frame. That is storytelling. This needs no explanation. A monkey in the balcony seat of an empty theater. The story writes itself in one glance. That's the standard. An image that tells its story without your help. Despite the colorful clutter of Hola Mohalla, there is no ambiguity here. The subject stands out, the story is clear. Complexity does not have to mean confusion. Don't capture the moment, capture the decisive moment. Henri Cartier-Bresson's concept, the decisive moment, is not a technical one. It's a storytelling one. It's the fraction of a second when all elements align. You find it by shooting bursts, by staying in the scene longer than feels comfortable, by watching how the story unfolds and waiting for the frame that captures its peak. Sin 6. Trying to keep everything. When you shoot, you have the urge to include it all. The whole skyline, both sides of the road, every person in the scene. That urge is greed. And greed degrades photographs. If it doesn't add, it hurts. Here, I wanted the skyline and I also wanted the viewers looking at it to add scale, human context. Two desires, one frame. The result is a frame pulled in two directions. The clean shot of the skyline. No viewers, no competition. The skyline is the subject and nothing is competing with it. Remember, if it doesn't add, it hurts. The ultimate greed. I want both sides of the road, the full sweep of the scene. What I got was a frame without a spine. No subject, just scenery. Being invested in the subject, the flock of bikers, the road is context. The bikers are the story. The difference between these two frames is not technique, it's intention. Can you identify the subject? This is a shot of ultimate greed. I want to show those unique leaves. I want to show the location. And I also want the subject to leap out. Not happening. Three competing desires. One frame. None of them win. Here, the subject leaps out. That little birdie. Why? Because I curbed my greed. I chose the bird, and everything else was sacrificed to serve that choice. Too much. The frame is trying to say too many things. It ends up saying nothing. The same scene, the same location, but a choice was made. What matters here? That question was asked, and the sacrifice was made alongside it. This is a stronger frame. But wait, there's a twist in the tale. Sometimes greed is good. Look at this. Hundreds of people carrying a cloth at the base of a stupa. This is the ritual of dressing Buddha as a monk. If I had curbed my greed here, if I had framed tightly, I would have lost the very thing that makes this photograph extraordinary. The crowd is not multiplicity, the crowd is the story. The scale of human devotion requires scale in the frame. An entire clan of zebras, and look what's happening between them. One is fooling around, the others are expressing what reads as disgust, exasperation, indifference. A social moment, a story told only through the group. A single zebra would have been wildlife photograph. The clan is a comedy. Greed here was a creative instinct. Brutal focus on the subject. That's the only way to overcome greed. Before you press the trigger, look at the edges and corners. That's where distractions hide. Mercilessly exclude them, suppress the urge to include, but remain alert to the moments when abundance is the story itself. That's when greed becomes vision. Sin 7. Stopping too soon. This one kills more good photos than anything else. Be critical of every frame you shoot. You packed up too soon. The best frame was next. This is the sin of accepting the first acceptable frame as the final one, of declaring victory before the scene has given you everything it has, of packing up. This one is nice, genuinely. If I had stopped here, I would have gone home with something good. But this is a better story, more intimate, more specific, more alive. Same location, same session, just a few minutes and a different decision. Charles Bridge in Praha. Gorgeous. The architecture, the light, the reflections. This is a beautiful photograph. But waiting for the blue hour turned it into a stunner. Same bridge, same angle, but the quality of light has transformed the mood entirely. The patience was the creative act. Here, the person is one with his act, but his profession is hard to notice. What does he do? The frame doesn't fully answer. But here, the net he is drying is in the frame. The eye points towards the fish he caught. Every element of the story is present and connected. This photograph is unified. The one before it was not. You would agree, this is a great shot. If I had walked away after this frame, I would have gone home happy and I would have missed what came next. A brief drizzle, followed by the rising sun, a rainbow appeared, and it framed the statue as if the scene had been composed. Nature gave me this, but only because I stayed. The sin of satisfaction is not just about missing better frames, it is about the irreversible loss of frames that could only exist in that place, at that moment, if you had not left. Work the scene always. Never pack up your camera while you're still in the location. Try one more angle. Wait one more minute. Change your focal length. Change your height. The scene is not finished until the light is gone. I call it working the scene. It is the single habit that separates photographers who get lucky occasionally from photographers who create opportunities consistently. You already have the camera. Now develop the eye. The 7 sins we covered today: exposure, multiplicity, dilution, division, diffusion, greed, and satisfaction. They are not technical errors. They are perceptual ones. It is not a technical failure. It's a failure of seeing. The fix for all of them is the same thing: awareness. The moment you can identify a sin in someone else's work is the moment you've begun to eliminate it from your own. So go back through your portfolio with these 7 questions. Ask them ruthlessly. You'd be surprised what you find, and more surprised by what you create next time. I am Ajay Sood. This is Traveler. If this helped, follow Traveler for more. There is more where this came from.